Hello and welcome back to the channel. I am Hannah Alexander and I want to have a little talk about the Percy Jacksons and the Olympians TV show. Is that what it's called? Percy Jackson and the Oh, I can't even say that. Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the Lightning Thief. I think that's the full name of the show. Obviously, it's the Percy Jackson and the Olympians series. So I'm a big fan of these books. I read them. I want to say I read the first one when I was probably about 17, maybe a little bit younger, but I was quite young. And then I listened to the audiobooks, which is silly because you don't take enough in if you listen to it as an audiobook before you read the book. So then I bought the series and I've probably read the whole series through maybe 3 times. I love it. I've read the Heroes of Olympus series and I've read the first of the Trials of Apollo series. So no spoilers for that, please, in the comments. But back to the TV show. I liked it. I thought it was really good. There were some things that I didn't like about it. So I want to start with that. The first one being Sally Jackson, which is it's so horrible for me to say, but Sally is supposed to be this like really kind, gentle, loving figure. Like the whole way through the book series, she's always so kind and patient with Percy, with everything. And in the show, she was quite like, she was snappy, she was hard, like with Gabe. So the next thing on my list is Gabe, because he was not dislikable enough in the show. Like, he was funny. I know that he wasn't very nice, but he wasn't awful, and Gabe is supposed to be awful. Like, and they didn't mention him being smelly Gabe. Like, he's supposed to be this really awful, ugly character who has hit Sally before. It's mentioned in the end of the book that Sally flinches away from him, and it's that moment that Percy realizes that he's hit Sally when Percy hasn't been around, and that's what convinces Percy to give Sally the box with Medusa's head in it. And of course, in the show, that we don't get that scene. It's just been delivered back to Percy's apartment and Gabe opens it after Sally's changed the locks. It was frustrating that they didn't make Gabe dislikable enough, and with that, Sally wasn't like the kind and gentle figure. So when she's trying to get him, so she's going to take Percy to Montauk. Is that how you say it in English? Montauk. Montauk. She sort of is really like stern with him, rather than the way that Sally is in the books, with her like gently convincing him to let them go. It was a bit disappointing for me that she was quite this quite stern and not harsh, but certainly not soft and gentle as she's portrayed in the books. Obviously, I've talked about my problem with Gabe in the show, which was the next on my list. He just wasn't dislikable enough. Next up is the pacing. This is difficult because obviously they had to fit that whole book into 8 40-minute episodes, and that's really difficult to do. So I just felt like a lot of the scenes were rushed through. Like the Lotus Casino felt really rushed to me. Him at camp, we didn't really get to see. I think we needed 2 whole episodes of Percy at camp, like a whole episode before he's claimed. Like with the sword fighting, we didn't see him sword fighting with Luke and pour the water on himself and then get energized so that he could like actually level up to Luke and battle him in a sword fight. We didn't get to see him within the Hermes cabin. Like we didn't see a lot of him discovering camp before finding out he was Poseidon's son. All we really saw was the argument in the bathroom and the capture the flag game. Is it a game? Capture the flag. I don't know. You know what I mean. So I really, if we could have had more episodes, I think 2 episodes of Percy at camp, one before he's claimed and one after, and then when he gets the quest at the end of that one, it would have been better in my opinion. It was too squished into that episode. And along with that is the Medusa scene, which is the next on my list. Medusa is my favourite monster in Greek mythology. I love Medusa, and I love Medusa in Percy Jackson because she's a really good, she's just an icon basically of a scorned woman who's angry, and she's angry at the half-bloods, like the children of the gods, because she's angry at the gods. She's fantastic, and again it just felt really rushed, the scene with Medusa. I really wanted to see, I feel like that the encounter with Medusa could have been a whole episode in itself, if not at least half an episode. And I know it was sort of half the episode was Medusa, but I don't think it was long enough. It was too rushed, and the bit with Grover finding his Uncle Ferdinand was good, but it wasn't explained enough, I think. I don't know, it's hard for me because I really did like the show. It's just those 4 points and like what they encompass just disappointed me a little bit. Other than that, fantastic. I loved it. Next up, I'm going to talk about what I liked about the show, and the first on that is Luke. So I think, oh, I don't know his name. Got it. I think Charlie Bushnell did such a fantastic job of showing Luke as like this really fantastic character that you meet, and he's the first person that Percy trusts in the camp, and he's like what all the campers see as this incredible demigod. I don't think I've said demigod yet. I've said half-blood and children of the gods. Demigod. And I just think he played it so well, and the bit at the end where like Percy sort of figures it out, I didn't like that the scorpion wasn't in it, and I think it could have been done a little bit better, but Charlie Bushnell played Luke so well, and I think that him and I almost said Alexander Hamilton then, Lin-Manuel Miranda cast as Hermes and Luke is fantastic. Oh, like Luke is like, I want to say Luke is my second favourite character in Percy Jackson after Percy, because he's such an interesting character, and like his reasoning for like what he does is so good. Very odd comparison, but he sort of reminds me of Thanos in the way that you can understand where he's coming from. Like, he's not bad just to be bad. He doesn't see himself as bad. He doesn't see himself as the villain, because he's doing what he believes is right and what he thinks would be better for people like him, for other demigods, because of the way that he grew up. I love Luke. I think he's brilliant, and I think Charlie Bushnell did so well playing Luke. I did like Jake Abel. I'm just going to throw this out there. I think Jake Abel was a really good Luke. Especially, I know that the movies were like really terrible, but I think that Jake Abel and Logan Lerman were top tier as Percy Jackson and Luke Castellan. It's only mentioned in like book 4 or something what his surname is, so I always forget. But I think that Charlie Bushnell is fantastic. I really liked all of the gods that we were introduced to. I think that they were all so well cast. I know we all wanted Logan Lerman as Poseidon, because it would have just been such a lovely like handover, I guess, from the movies to the TV show, and just to show that we're not like we don't want to forget that the movies existed, but in the same way we do want to sort of forget that the movies existed. As standalones, I really like them. It's the reason I got into the books, which must mean that I must have read the book when I was about 16 or 15, because I watched the second film in the cinema, and it came out in like 2013. No, earlier than that. It doesn't matter. The reason I like Percy Jackson, and the reason I'm so into Greek mythology, all boils down to the first Percy Jackson movie. I used to watch it all the time. I really liked it, and on its own, if you don't think about the books, it's a good movie. It's just that it's not good when you see it as what's it called? Like, it was done by the book, but I can't speak today. When you really, it's good if you don't think of it as a Percy Jackson film, is what I'm trying to say. But how did I get to this from saying that I love the gods? Oh, because we wanted him as Poseidon. Little theory of mine, it's not going to come true, but I would love if Logan Lerman came back as Paul Blowfist. But I think that the actress that plays Sally Jackson is possibly a little bit too old to be in a relationship with Logan Lerman, like in the TV show. But I just think that would be a really good cameo. Rather than him be Poseidon, he could be Paul Blowfist. But I loved all of the casting for the gods. It's very, very sad. I'm so terrible with names, so I can't remember his name. I'm gonna have to Google it again. Found it. It's very, very sad that Lance Reddick obviously passed away before the series was even released. It was a posthumous release for him. I don't want to take away from him. He was fantastic as Zeus. I don't know how to word this in a way that doesn't make me seem insensitive to his death, but basically in Percy Jackson, the gods can appear as however they like. So casting, I don't think that casting Zeus again would be like too difficult, because he can. It's not going to be like when Carrie Fisher died. Carrie Fisher, is that her name? Princess Leia. Where you can't replace her because she is Princess Leia. The gods can appear as however they like, so he can be recast without it being too detrimental to the TV show, especially as he only appeared once or twice. But it's very sad because he was such a good Zeus. Like he just held all that power and like emanated it. When he was on screen, I was like, wow, that is Zeus. Like he played it so well. So it is such a shame that he passed away before the series even released. He didn't even get to see it. Ares, fantastic. But the personal like standout for me was Dionysus, Mr. D, Jason Manzuka. I don't know how to say his name. I can't say his name now. Pimento in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Brooklyn Nine-Nine is like the top of my sitcoms list. I watch it all the time. I love him, and I think he did such a good job as Dionysus. Like Mantzukas, I don't know how to pronounce his surname, but he was so good. He could have been a bit like chunkier, because I think that Dionysus is supposed to be like quite chunky, but that was the same for Gabe, and Gabe was really skinny. But I didn't like Gabe. I loved his version of Mr. D. He was brilliant. He just like, he had all that, doesn't care, like hates the demigods, wishes that he wasn't there. He just portrayed it so well. I really liked the Waterland scene, other than the fact that Grover wasn't there. I didn't really understand the point of that, I guess. I know that we saw him like talking to Ares and spinning it so that Ares sort of lost it instead of him. Like, do you know what I mean? Because obviously Ares's presence makes you angry, and Grover sort of spun it. But Ares getting into fights on Twitter was so funny to me. I loved the modernisation. I just had to throw that in as a side note. But other than that, I really liked Waterland. I liked the fact that they didn't know this song, because obviously it's quite an old song. But that was very funny to me. I liked the inclusion of Hephaestus, because obviously it's his trap, but you don't see him in the book. I thought that was a really good way to, because it would have been hard, I think, to put the actual ending of that scene where they have to get over the fence. I think it would have been really hard to put that into the show. So instead, getting Percy to sit in the seat and almost sacrifice himself, thinking that he wasn't going to be able to get back out again, and they'd have to continue the quest without him, when it's his quest and he only went on it because he wanted to get his mum back. It was, I really liked it. And then obviously him freeing Percy because he liked what Annabeth had to say. Oh, I really liked it. I thought it was really cool, and like the animation of him getting swallowed up by that gold, brilliant. I really liked that scene. And the last thing on the things that I liked list is the Lotus Casino scene. This is the thing, I don't think that anything will ever live up to the Lotus Casino scene in the movie. And I know that sounds so stupid because I'm saying that the movie wasn't good in comparison to the books, but the Lotus Casino scene in the movie was so good, like with the poker face in the background. It was so much fun, and like I wanted to go to that hotel. I think it was hard to do a scene as well as it was done in the movie, because I don't care if you disagree, I thought that was brilliant. It was top tier, iconic, so good. But the way they changed it for the TV show, Grover meeting another satyr that was like searching for Pan, who had got lost in the casino and thought that Pan was there, because of the way the lotus flowers mess with their minds, and the reason he forgot that he was there with Percy and Annabeth was because he was alone, so he forgot their quest because he went off on his own, and they remembered their quest but they forgot Grover, and then they had to go and find him. Oh, so good, so clever. I do wish we could have seen a bit more of the people in there that were from different times, and like Percy realizing that these people are from different times. I think that would have been nice to see. But other than that, I really liked the Lotus Casino scene, and I love Lin-Manuel Miranda, and I loved seeing him as Hermes. I think he's great. And the things I loved about the show, number three technically, because I've put them in the list, is Hades. I love Hades in the books. They did him so dirty in the film with the making him really cruel and evil. No, Hades isn't like that. Hades is just sick and tired of everything, and I loved the way they did him in the TV show. Like, he was so perfect. He was just as he is in the books, just like unbothered and just being like, I want my helm, that's what I want. Like, oh, I just loved him, and the actor played it so well. I just can't even. I loved him. I thought he was great. Number two, I think I probably should have put this underneath Hades, really, because I loved Hades. But the moment Percy gets claimed, I know that it's sort of the same as the book and the film. Actually, no, not the film, because he just walked in and went, my father's Poseidon. Stupid. But him getting claimed by the water, I honestly teared up a little bit. It was so well done after his fight with Clarice, because the fight with Clarice was so good when he snaps her spear. Oh, for me, that was maybe my best part of the series. My favourite scene of the series is his fight with Clarice and getting claimed, because it was exactly how I imagine it in the book. Beautiful, amazing, loved it. And finally, the thing I loved most about the show was Percy, Grover and Annabeth. I think they were cast so well. Like, when they were first cast, obviously I was a little bit disappointed that Percy and Annabeth didn't look like how I envisioned their characters, because I read the book, watched the film before I read the books. I always pictured Percy as Logan Lerman, not Annabeth, because Annabeth in the film just wasn't Annabeth. But obviously she's not blonde. Percy doesn't have black hair. It didn't matter. As soon as it started and we were introduced to the characters, I was like, these are Percy, Grover and Annabeth. Grover, amazing. I like that he was a little bit braver than in the books, because I think that we saw more of him because of that. But Percy and Annabeth, like, them growing to love each other, obviously not love each other yet, but they love each other as friends. They look after each other, especially at the Louisiana Arch. What is it called? No, St. Louis Arch. The big thing that Percy falls off of. Rick Riordan's like, I didn't know it was that tall. Where he shuts them out. and they, because he wants to save them. Oh, just like that was a lovely turning point, and the hug that she gives him, oh, so good. I can't wait to see their relationship bloom, because we all know, if you've read the books, Percy and Annabeth end up together and they're perfect for each other. And I think that Walker and Leah played it so well, especially her being so like she didn't see him as who everybody else saw him in the beginning, and then in the end saying, do you still think you're just some normal kid? Like, she knows he's special, and he is. Walker did so good as Percy, like the sass, the humour, he was brilliant. Obviously I knew that he was going to be funny because I've watched the Adam Project, that's what it's called, isn't it? So we already knew that he is very funny anyway, but he played Percy so brilliant, and he's a fan of the show as well, which I think is so important. Like, he knows Percy's Percyisms, so I think that they played it so well. I think that the three of them are going to be brilliant. I hope that they renew for season 2, do the whole book series, and then continue on to do the Heroes of Olympus, because I want to see my man Leo Valdez so badly. He is my favourite character in the whole of that universe. I love Leo Valdez and also Frank Zhang, but Leo Valdez, I need to see him on the big screen. So I really hope it's renewed and they do the whole series, because I really liked it, and I think it was done really well. And I also want to see Apollo and Artemis, and if you're interested, Artemis I'd like to play but not really, because she tends to appear as a 12-year-old girl and I can't act. But Apollo 100% should be Joe Keery, also known as Steve the Hare Harrington from Stranger Things. He would be perfect for Apollo. He has just got that sunny, cool guy disposition that Apollo just is. So Apollo, Joe Keery. That's all I have to say. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you agree with me down in the comments. What were your favourite parts of the show? Did you like it? Do you want them to continue, or were you disappointed? Let me know. Everybody's allowed an opinion. Just be kind about it. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Why am I so out of breath?